Meet Bridget.
I consider myself to be the Leonardo DiCaprio
Okay.
of Porto.
Okay.
That was on that Titanic and he raised that glass.
Okay.
Now I'm here with all of you fine people.
She had a rude awakening that could have completely ruined her move.
I was moving over here with the promise that I would be able to keep my job and live abroad.
You wouldn't believe what she was told.
I hate to say this, but this is where dreams come to die.
So then, what would she do?
At that moment, I was like, okay, pots and pans do not fail me now.
Yeah, here we go.
We got to roll with this.
And how does she feel about being an American in Portugal?
I feel fortunate to be able to hold a U.S. passport and also call Portugal home.
Now that she's in Portugal, does she feel like it was ultimately the right move?
If I'm very honest, and probably being very brutally honest right now, that has been one of my lived experiences here.
Bridget, I'm really excited to talk about what you do here in Portugal, but before we get to that, let's talk about how you moved here and why you moved here. So where did you come from in the U.S. and what was that route like for you?
Okay, so my home state is Alabama, Sweet Home, Alabama. But I moved to Portugal by way of San Diego, California. I lived there for 5 years. And it was during that time when I was there that I had really thought intently on moving abroad. My life goal was I wanted, by the age of 50, I wanted to be living and working abroad in Europe. I should not have said working. I should just said living abroad in Europe.
Yeah.
So when COVID had hit, it was a good time for me to really reevaluate where I was. I was a couple of years out from hitting my 50th birthday. And so I took a scouting trip, when we were able to travel, came back to Portugal, fell in love with Porto. I took a couple of years in that time, revisiting to make sure that I really want to move here. And so I ended up making that decision in 2022 and I officially moved here in 2023.
Okay.
And then a couple of months later celebrated my 50th birthday.
So you made it.
I made it. I made it just in time, but it was a lot of bumps along the way. I did not have the easy route like most people did as far as visas. So my journey getting here was a little bit bumpy, but there were so many. I can see, looking back on how the universe made everything work together for my good.
Okay, before we get to the bumps, because I do want to touch on those, but when you did move over here, you said you did some scouting in between.
I did.
Would you recommend someone does the scouting, or do you think people can definitely move here sight unseen?
Ooh, I personally think that you need to set eyes on where you want to live. For me, I wanted to come to the city and see how I felt in it. I'm really big on feeling and vibes and energy. So I would say for me it worked because I was able to go to Lisbon, and then I was able to also try on Porto and see how I felt. Porto was the city that instantly when I got here, it was this photo of me sitting in my Airbnb and my body was just was slouched in this comfortable chair. And in that moment, I knew I had found home. I knew I had found a place that I could relax and that I could rest and have a life, not just come and stunt on life. But yeah, so I think that you do need to kind of like come to a city and try it on facade, see how you feel in it. And you really cannot get that if you move here sight unseen.
Okay, good. All right, let's talk about those bumps. So you moved over here actually with a job, kind of. Explain that.
Well, I was moving over here with the promise that I would be able to keep my job and live abroad. But things did not fall in place. So I was in between a D7 visa that was going out for people that were still working, and then the D8 was coming in. And during that time, because I was not able to keep my job, and they told me, last minute, I ended up having to go the manifestation of interest route. And going back to my job, interesting thing that happened because my manager had approved it, the director had approved it, and then we had this meeting with HR. And the HR director was like, well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we won't be able to approve you working abroad. And, I hate to say this, but this is where dreams come to die.
Oh my gosh.
He literally said, this is where dreams come to die. You won't be able to, move abroad to Portugal, and we're sorry. And that day I had time.
Yeah.
That day I told him, I said, the dream will not die. I will be moving to Portugal, whether or not I'm working for the name of the company or not. And
Good for you.
yes, seriously. And so we had that initial meeting, and then right before I was scheduled to fly out to Portugal in May of 2023, we had a subsequent meeting with HR again, same HR person, and they asked me during that meeting, they like, okay, so, we are coming back again just to clarify that, that we won't be able to support you in, as far as working abroad. What is your decision? And I said, it's time for me to go home.
Yeah.
And today is my 2-week notice.
And
so I gave up my job to move here. I gave up my job. I was still an independent contractor in medical transcription. So when I moved here, I moved here with that side job. And so that was in May of 2023. A couple of months later, in September, was when I had the idea to start Southern Gal in Portugal. I love to cook, and so I wanted to only do what I was passionate about here. So when I moved here, in September, I started Southern Gal in Portugal, just as an idea that I wanted to host this Thanksgiving dinner event. I announced it on a Monday. That next day, I lost my U.S. contract.
Okay.
And so at that moment, I was like, okay, pots and pans do not fail me now.
Yeah, here we go.
We got to roll with this. And so I went full time into cooking. That event that I had announced sold out in 3 weeks. And from that event, that's what put me on the map in Porto. I was able to have residual clients, catering gigs, Good Morning America. I mean, everything kind of like culminated from that one event that I had put out there. So I would like to say I think the universe was really banking on me to overcome different fears and obstacles along the way, to see that I had the tenacity to hang in there. And to take that calculated risk. So I'm so happy and so grateful that I feel like in some ways that Porto chose me. I chose Porto, but I think in the bigger picture, Porto chose me and made room for me in this city.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay, so things are going well with the business. Now that's your full-time job.
It is.
And you really enjoy it. It's more, and it's a passion as well, right?
It's a passion, yes. And I get to eat free.
Yes, always good. And
always
like good food, right?
Yes. I love my job. I love what I do. I love most about providing something that a lot of people miss in the States. When you have a cuisine that is either hard to replicate here and people don't have the ingredients, or they don't have, a specific soul food restaurant here. I love being able to fill that need that people have. I personally feel like that even though we are here as immigrants or expats, I believe that we should bring all of ourselves here. So I don't believe that because I live in Portugal, I should only eat Portuguese food.
Yeah.
I think that people should be able to eat the food that they grew up on and the food that they have fond memories centered around. So I'm glad to be able to provide that nostalgia when it comes to food.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have a hard time finding some of the ingredients? Like, do you have to get stuff from the States
I do
sometimes?
still have to, but I have so many plugs.
Okay, that's very important.
So I do have to source like certain spices from the States. But I have so many people that either if they're visiting, they want to keep me in business, so they always asking me, do I need anything back? I'm always having people that's bringing me stuff back from the States, and then when I visit, of course, I will stock up on it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about cost of living. How has that been for you being here a couple years? Have you seen a rise in Porto with cost of living of stuff?
I have.
Okay.
I have. I moved here from San Diego, and at the time when I moved here in San Diego, my rent was like $1,800 for this little small apartment in San Diego. It was going up to $2,300. So I moved here with a budget that I could live between $1,800 to $2,300. I could live off of that, with including rent and everything here in Portugal.
Yeah.
And just the 2 years I've been here, I have some days I look around and I see all the new construction and how rent is increasing. It reminds me of California and how that felt, because it's like there's things. It seems like that there's not a certain cap on the people that's coming in and how things are increasing, and so I do feel a little bit of volatility, or I sense it when it comes to things getting more expensive here, rent getting more expensive. So that is a concern in the back of my mind, but I know that God has me.
Yeah, everything will be taken care of, because it
Absolutely.
has been from here on, right? You've seen how that has.
It has been.
Yeah. What are some things that you like about Porto?
Oh, I love the close-knit community.
Okay.
I love that I can walk at nighttime and someone is waving me into their restaurant or their bar or whatever. I mean, people are very friendly here. And I like that Porto is a little big city. It's big enough where we have different communities with a different vibe, but it's also small enough where it feels like family.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, Porto being the second largest city in Portugal, so it is like a city, but you still have that like small feel and community
it feels
feel.
like Cheers sometimes.
Okay. That's funny.
Everybody knows everybody here in Porto.
Yeah, good. Has it been easy or hard to meet people? Like whether it's expats or locals, like how have you built community?
It hasn't been hard for me. I try to embrace everybody and I try to go out friendly. I think that how you lead in life is what you will get back. So I haven't had a problem with meeting people. I will be honest and say I have had more problems trying to not be pulled into the expat pool, because a lot of times Americans like to only hang around Americans. And of course, I didn't want to move to Europe and just have my whole existence just to be hanging around, Americans. So I do have to be more conscious about making sure that I, balance that with having a life outside of the American bubble here.
Yeah, which can be hard because obviously, like, speaking English and just the same ideas as like moving from the U.S. here. So sometimes it can be the easy answer, but you have to be thinking, what else can I be doing?
And there is some comfort, though, in having people that understand the language that you can easily speak to, and they understand what it took for us to get here. So I do love that I have such a beautiful American family here. But I want to see more of my brothers and sisters too from other countries. So I intentionally in my private life, I spend more time out of the expat bubble.
Okay, good. How's your Portuguese coming along?
Eu falo e percebo Portuguese pouco.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
That's your favorite line, yeah.
I speak and understand Portuguese little. But my partner who I'm dating, he is Portuguese, so I get a chance to learn more through him through the conversations of it. But yeah, the Portuguese is still a work in progress.
Okay.
It's still a work in progress.
Okay. Have you been able to travel since you've been here?
I have.
Okay. Do you have a favorite place that you've been or a place that you would say you definitely have to go here once you move to Portugal?
So I'm a foodie. So I would say everything is centered around food for me. Italy.
Oh, of course.
Number one. I mean, when I tell you you could just drop me off in Italy and pick me up a couple of years later. I could eat my way through the whole country. I love Italy. France, of course, has the most amazing desserts. But when I want a taste of home outside of Portugal, I love Germany.
Okay.
I love Germany. My best friend lives in Germany. I love the comfort food of Germany, like the schnitzels and all the hearty food. But yeah, Germany, I would say, would be that second soft home place that I love to escape to.
Okay. When you go and eat foods in different places, do you draw inspiration from that or not really, because you kind of have a set of like it's what's from back home, like it's your cooking is more from like Alabama, or do you ever like pull in some and try different things?
Yes. So surprisingly, Southern food is of course my background and what I'm known for in my business. What I cook for myself at home personally, I cook more Mediterranean.
Okay.
I love Italian food. So I eat more that way. I usually reserve soul food on Sundays. I always have soul food Sunday dinners.
Okay.
And then when I'm cooking for clients, but for the most part, I do not eat soul food throughout the week.
Okay.
I do like more of I love Greek food. I love more of the lighter fare foods. But so to answer your other question, when I do travel, I like to try to deconstruct how they make a dish, and I try to replicate it at home. Some things I do leave to whoever is cooking that dish, I leave to that country.
Yeah.
Like certain things, even here in Portugal, I would not even attempt to cook because I think the Portuguese just do it so well. So yeah, and one of those dishes is bacalhau. I would never try to cook that for
You wouldn't get
anyone.
the dried out, smelly stuff.
I tried one time, and when I tell you it was so horrible, my whole apartment, I'm like, I would never touch this again. So yeah, I think certain dishes, I've had a better experience of eating it out side of home, so I would not even try to.
Which makes
try to
sense, right?
accomplish-
And it's
yeah.
so affordable as well. So it's like, why am I
Exactly.
stinking up my place and dealing with all that when I could just go to a really good restaurant that's been doing it for 50 years and they
Exactly.
can do it? Yeah, because with the dried out stuff, aren't you supposed to soak
You're
it for like
supposed
2 days or
yeah,
something?
yeah, and then change out the water. I don't have the patience for that.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience for that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Do you have any Portuguese or just any restaurants in Porto that like are your go-tos? Like when people come visit, you want to drop the names?
Yes, my number one favorite restaurant. I love Tapa Bento.
Okay.
That was my cheers when I first moved here to Portugal. It was a place that I would come to and just hang out and just talk with the owner, and she really made me feel at home. So I would say Tapa Bento is number one as far as my first choice. And my second place, I love Treze, which is in Foz, de Douro. That's my second favorite place that sells excellent Portuguese food. So yeah.
Have you come across any Portuguese food that you haven't liked? And you can be honest.
Oh gosh, I cannot get with the Francesinha. Sorry.
What? Oh, that's my favorite.
Oh God, it's just too much of everything.
It
It's
is.
just too much.
Yeah. People will call it a heart attack on the plate.
And I know people say, oh, it's all about the sauce, but I cannot get past like 5 or 6 pieces of meat in between. That's just too much. That's the only dish that I have tried several times to see, is there anything different that I like about it at a different restaurant? And just straight across the board, it's a hard no.
Too much.
It's too much. It's too much.
For me, I have to be in the mood. I have to be really hungry and have to be in the mood for it. So I don't eat it a lot, but I do like it. Like when I'm like ready to go for one, I'm like, yes.
So you have to tell me where you go in the city to eat it. Maybe I'm not going to like the right places.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it like the meat, it definitely depends. You have to have really good quality meat because
Yes.
sometimes some of the little places will say, and they'll have it on the board, the best Francesinha, but then you go in and it's like sandwich deli meat and you're like, oh, or hot dog. I've had one where I had like hot dog meat and it's like, that's really bad quality.
Yeah, that
so
is.
the meat definitely makes it. So have you been to Brasão?
No,
Brasão,
I
it's got
haven't.
a couple different
I
locations.
haven't been there for the Francesinha.
Okay.
I've been there for like the steak.
Because they do steak well and they
Yeah.
do meat well, they have a good one. So that's another good one.
Really?
Obviously, you've got like Santiago and Lado Bay that have good ones. But I think that, when people ask me, I think that's a good, solid one to go to. So Brasão, try the Francesinha there.
nice.
And you
I
can
will
get the
do
half
that.
portion. That's the other thing. Like you can get a half portion of it. So if you're like, it's too much, like get the half then.
Oh, nice.
So they do that as well.
Okay, perfect.
And they've got good beer too, so that helps.
Okay.
Well, so speaking of like drinks and stuff, like how have you enjoyed like the wine culture and the drinking culture, cafe culture here?
I love the wine here. I got a whole bar in my apartment. I have this little, so my apartment is very tiny. It's my quote tiny home. Be careful what you ask for, right?
Okay.
I always wanted a tiny home in the
there you
U.S., but I moved to a tiny home here in Portugal.
Okay.
And I have this one closet that's in my room, and nothing else would fit but all of my wine bottles. So
Nice.
I love the wine here. I love the wines from the Alentejo. I love the Vinho Verdes. Coffee. I do drink a lot of. I drink coffee socially here. I'm not a big coffee drinker throughout the day. But yeah, I do like the wine more so than the coffee here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then when people come visit, do you do like Douro Valley tours with them, like friends and stuff?
Usually, to be honest, if someone comes and visit, I let them go and explore and do that, with themselves. I have been to the Douro. That was actually my first wine tour here.
Okay.
When I did my scouting trip. So I love this region up in Porto because I love being in a foodie city. I love that we have such easy access to all the good wines. And so I do like that we are so beautifully centered as far as in this particular area, what we have access to. And I'm sure you can walk out any of the alleys and streets, and there's so many places that sell port wines and different wines from the Douro and Alentejo and Dow. It's good to see all the diversity that we have when it comes to wines here.
Yeah, definitely. And still very affordable.
Yes,
I mean, you go to
very
some of the older
affordable.
places and they're doing like the little cup of wine, filling it all the way up, and it's still
Yes.
€1, maybe €2.
Yes, and then what's considered to be, and it quote, expensive bottle of wine as far as quality here is much cheaper than what you could get in California.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
love that.
And their house wines, like a really good quality as well. So
Yes.
it's like affordable, but it tastes good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
actually, we were in Italy recently, and I found like kind of missing the Portuguese wines. And I mean, for the longest time, I loved Italian wines, but some of the reds, I was like, oh, I gotta get back to Portugal for the Portugal wines. So, yeah, they've got really good wines here. Okay, so obviously we know you love Porto. Is there anything that you feel like Porto's lacking in, or like you wish would be a little different?
I wish Porto had more jazz venues.
Okay.
More places that you can just go, like for the 40 and above crowd, somewhere that you can just go and just to relax. I wish it had more places that lended to that here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have that, but what other things do you do that are like that you enjoy?
That I enjoy as far as that. I love to go, I love bossa nova, so I do visit some of the venues here that have that music. I love living in downtown and being able to go to the Coliseum and see, you know, some type of production or play or something. I love that. I love just exploring different neighborhoods here in the city, especially when you want to get your walk in too. So I love being able to just to get up and just take the metro to a different neighborhood and just walk that neighborhood and find somewhere to eat for lunch, or either traveling outside of Porto and going up to Portuguese and having lunch there. So I love just hopping around and exploring all the different areas here.
Yeah, that's nice. And people will say that Porto's hilly and hard to walk. Would you agree with that?
I think Lisbon is more hillier.
Me too.
I really do. I would never forget when I was considering Lisbon, and I was on a scouting trip, and I stayed in Alfama. I didn't know much about that neighborhood, but that is the word. That is one of the hilliest neighborhoods there. And I had walked out my Airbnb, and you know, just doing the Google Maps, and I was supposed to make this turn, and when I tell you, this street was so steep, I could not even see the bottom. I'm like, okay, today I don't need dinner. I'll be okay. I literally went back to my Airbnb and I called a taxi just to be able to leave that area. It was so hilly that it was scary. So I think Porto has a few hills, but not as steep as Lisbon.
Yeah,
No.
that's what I think as well.
Yeah. I found it very easy to walk around in Porto, and the sidewalks are a little bit wider too here.
All right, well, let's shift a little bit from the Porto and then the food and everything, and let's talk about what it's like being an American here in Portugal.
Yes. So I would say being an American here, I've been well received. I will be honest and say the climate has shifted a little bit since I've been here. You know, dealing with a lot of the things that happen with the elections, both abroad, here in Portugal as well as in the States. I think sentiments for some have started to like shift. But thankfully, I can say that I've never felt fearful here. I've never felt like I did not belong here. I've always felt like that I have been well received here. So I feel fortunate to be able to hold a U.S. passport and also call Portugal home. So I'm very happy here. I'm very happy here, and I'm very happy with the community of even the Portuguese that have received me as their family here.
Okay, and then how's it been with business?
Business-wise, I would say the bulk of my clients are American clients. I do have some Portuguese that came to my Thanksgiving event, and they tend to order the holiday desserts.
Okay, yeah.
So more of my Portuguese clients, they tend to, like around the holidays, they love to order some of the holiday dessert dishes that America is like known for. Business, I would have to say, if I'm completely honest, as a woman and being a woman of color, there have been a few instances where I have had to not prove myself, but make them comfortable with the idea that it's okay, yes, I'm in charge, this is my business.
Okay.
A good example of that, my event that I had hosted, I had ordered this equipment for my event, and they show up to deliver. I'm like, okay, so I will meet you there and I'll help you unload. I get there and they was looking around the whole time like, where? And I'm like,
hello,
hello, I'm the one. And he kept looking around. I'm like, hello, I'm the one. This is my event. I'm Bridget. I'm the one. So, just making, and I say that because sometimes two things. It's not You don't always see a woman in business, and then as a foreigner, seeing a person of color in business. Sometimes people are not used to seeing that dynamic.
Okay.
And so I will be honest and say it did take some time to make other people comfortable with me being in business, and then this is what you see. But then when they get past a smile and see my warm heart, they know that I'm a part of this community too. So I would say, if I'm very honest, and probably being very brutally honest right now, that has been one of my lived experiences here. But even with that, the more that I walk around this city and people know who I am, even the Portuguese people, if I go to, because I have farmers at the Mercado de Bouillard that I buy certain produce and stuff from, people that know me in the city know who I am, so that makes it easier.
Right.
But the people that don't yet know who I am, I think it has taken some time to see this new dynamic of, an American and then a person of color being in business here, having to marry what that looks like and present that to the world here. I've had to be more intentional in how I do that.
Okay. At first, did it make you uncomfortable, or how did it make you feel?
It didn't make me uncomfortable from the standpoint of like I did not belong here, but it made me aware of this is not normally what. In some ways, in some parts of the culture, this is a anomaly. This is not what they normally see. And so I had to be comfortable with that because, being an American and then being in business, that's not something that they normally see. And then when I was visiting here and I would see people of color, I didn't always see them in leading roles. You understand what I'm saying by that? I would see them in supporting roles. I might see them in the kitchen, or I might see them doing housekeeping and different things. So me being aware of that, and then being aware that this is what I'm doing in the city, I just had to make sure that I present myself in a way where, that they know who I am, but I'm also showing that I'm a part of this community too. And then with them seeing the reach that I have and the people that I serve, that's helped to make it better as well.
Yeah, that's great. And not letting it bother you, but just being like,
Not
okay,
let-
this is how I have to handle it.
Right. Because I think people, that when they move here, especially if you intend to start a business, I think you need to know the country that you're going to serve. You need to know the people. You need to know the history. You need to know, the dynamics of what things look like. And you need to know yourself most importantly. You need to have a very good grip on who you are. And so because I understood all of that, I didn't walk into this feeling like, oh, they're not going to accept me. Oh, there's no room for me. There is room for everybody here. And I think once you find where you belong in the city, all the other hiccups and ways that you have to make people comfortable with your presence, all of that will fall in place.
Yeah, and going into it, like not thinking you can change or you should change it,
Right.
but just how can you adapt so that you're not changing yourself, but that you're also getting on with the culture that you moved into.
Right, because you're also moving into a place that has history too. And that history is different, based on, it could be based on where you come from or anything. So there's always the history. One thing that I, as much as I'm blessed to hold a U.S. passport, there are some times that I don't want to be seen as American. A good example is I have you probably know the place, I won't call them out, this chicken place in our neighborhood. And I go there, I eat there at least 2 or 3 times a week. And as soon as I walk in, Americano, Americano. I'm like, no, Portugal,
geez,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And he's joking, but the whole time, everybody in the restaurant, he's letting everybody in the restaurant know that the American lady is here to get her chicken.
Oh, that's funny.
So it's moments like that where I just want to be a part of the community. I just want you know what I mean? But it's funny, every time I walk in, it never, and the restaurant could be crowded. Americano, Americano. So yeah.
That's a good relationship there, right? Like it's funny, yeah.
It's hilarious, but those are the times I'm like, I'm with you guys now. I'm a part of your community. So
Yeah, great. Well, at Expats Everywhere, we believe that living abroad transforms life. So how has living abroad transformed your life?
Oh my gosh. It has made me believe in the impossible. I consider myself to be the Leonardo DiCaprio of Porto.
Okay.
That was on that Titanic and he raised that glass. Now I'm here with all of you fine people. I literally, when I look back on my life and even with laughter, when I think about, I am the most unlikely person to be living over here and all of these beautiful doors of opportunity have opened up. I am the most least likely person for this to happen to. So I feel unbelievably blessed, grateful, thankful, very, very humble that I get this opportunity to live this fantastic life abroad.
Well, Bridget, thank you so much. And you should check out Bridget's page, Instagram. It'll be in the description. It's Southern Gal in Portugal. And if you need to figure out where you want to live, then check out this video right here. Now, let's get moving.